So you've made the big decision to evict your tenant. You've got all of your data right. You know exactly how much remains unpaid. Did you get your notice to vacate right? Because if you didn't, you stand to lose your eviction, and that ain't good. We're talking all about how to get your notice to vacate right. Today, let's get started. I'll tell you, it's one of the common errors that ruins eviction cases all the time. I go into court and I see judges toss out cases because the landlord had no idea how to get their notice to vacate right. Or they tell me, Ernie, I've been doing it this way for years. And it wasn't until this judge said so that now I got to start doing something different. Well, here's the thing, the fact that you've been doing something wrong for a long time doesn't necessarily make it right. So I'm going to show you, if you're filing an eviction in the state of Texas, how to get your notice to vacate right every single time. First, you want to make sure that you are making an unconditional demand for possession. If you're wishy-washy in your notice to vacate, you might not be getting your message across to your tenant, and the judge may not see what you sent as an actual demand for possession. Make sure that it is clear that you are saying, you breached my lease agreement and now you have to leave. By making your statements conditional or by not clearly demanding possession, you could find your notice tossed out and you being turned around by the eviction judge. If you want to make it clear, your notice to vacate should say, you must leave. Generally speaking, in the state of Texas, you have a default of 3 days. And this is true among many states. And you have to say you have to be out in 3 days after receiving this notice. However, sometimes landlords create problems in the body of their notice to vacate because they write things in a way that doesn't make mathematical sense. For example, the date on the notice will say January 1st, 2025, but the notice to vacate says you have to be out in 3 days, and the you have to be out by date says January 2nd, 2025. It doesn't make mathematical sense. You've got only 1 day in what you wrote in your letter, and so 3 days can't be crammed into that time. And you might tell the judge, listen, Your Honor, it was a typo. Of course I meant something else. And that is probably not going to be convincing. If the body of your notice has a major defect, you can expect that notice to get tossed out. Now, you may have a situation where you've given plenty of days in the date the notice was drafted and delivered, and the date you want the tenant to leave. The problem is, because you delivered your notice by the mail and it didn't actually find its way into the mailbox for 3 days, the day the tenant receives that notice might be the same day you say, get out. And so in that sense, you didn't actually give your tenant a full 3 days. And the court, where you find that you filed your eviction, may toss out the eviction on that basis. So how do you prevent this from happening? If you are going to deliver your notice by US mail, then I wouldn't put an end date if you can't predict precisely when the tenant is going to receive the notice. By simply stating you have to be out within 3 days of receiving this notice, you've covered your bases. Whether that notice is delivered in 1 day or in 1 week, as long as you can confirm delivery, then you can count 3 days thereafter and file appropriately. And when it comes to delivery, a lot of landlords get this so wrong. Let's talk a little bit about delivery in person. Generally speaking, delivery in person can only be accomplished in one of 2 ways. First, you take the notice itself, assuming that the text in the document, and it must be in written form, the text in the document says precisely what you need, you're making a specific demand, and you're giving a specific time limit. You're turning it into your tenant, and you're putting it in their hand. It doesn't make sense for you to give the notice to someone who isn't your tenant. But it happens. Sometimes grandma is visiting, or the neighbor is there, or the boyfriend is there. If you put that note in somebody else's hand, that notice to vacate doesn't count in the state of Texas. You haven't properly delivered it in person to the named tenant. Now, it is possible for you to prove that you gave it to an occupant. So maybe the person who signed the lease isn't the one who gets it, but that occupant better be 16 years of age or older, and you better be able to prove, number one, that it was an occupant, and number two, that that occupant is at least 16 years of age or older. If you can't prove those two things, you can't prove that you gave proper notice to your tenant. And so the safest thing is always to give notice to the named tenant. Where that's concerned, you want to make sure that the notice itself features the names of all of the tenants who signed the lease. You don't want to deliver notice strictly to one of numerous tenants. If you've got 3 tenants who signed the lease in the state of Texas, you have to sue all 3 of them for your eviction to be valid. For your lawsuit to be valid, you better be able to prove that you gave notice to all 3 of those tenants. If your notice to vacate doesn't feature the names of all the tenants who signed the lease, you might find your notice gets kicked out for being defective. Now, Ernie, I heard that you could post notice on the door. Isn't that right? Technically, it is. However, by default, the law prefers that you post the notice on the inside of the main entry door. Make sure you get this right. But Ernie, there's no way I'm going to go inside of the unit. I could get shot, or there could be a dangerous dog. Let's talk first about the people who can get inside. If you can get inside safely, you open the door, firmly affix the notice to the inside of the main entry door, then snap a picture of it as evidence of where you delivered that notice. You have satisfied the Texas Property Code in terms of delivering that notice by posting it on the inside of the main entry door. However, if you do have an instance where you do have a dangerous dog, or you just can't open the door and get inside because they've changed the locks on you, or maybe you've got a legitimate fear for your safety by opening that door, you're not going to do it. The law does allow a mechanism for you to post it on the outside of the door, but I absolutely do not recommend that you post the notice as your exclusive method of delivery on the outside of any door. I'm not even going to go and explain to you what the law does say about valid posting on the outside of the door, because I hate this message so much, mostly because it is extremely easy for landlords to get this wrong. And if you get it wrong, you can find yourself in front of a judge who's going to toss out that notice and throw out your case. So I'd prefer that you get it right. If you're so fearful of opening that door that you can't post it on the inside of the main entry door, then don't deliver it by posting it on the door at all. Instead, the tried and true method that we employ every single time we deliver a notice to vacate is through the U.S. mail. For us, the U.S. mail is magic. You see? We always send notices just like this. Here, we have a regular stamped envelope, and we're gonna send this letter through the regular US mail. But here, we have a certified letter, and we're gonna send it through the US mail, certified mail return receipt requested. So here's what we found in our years of experience mailing our notices to vacate by regular and certified mail. If both letters are sent to the US Postal Service together, mailed on the same day, which we can prove because we send everything through our stamps.com account. If they're sent on the same day, they're processed together and they are delivered together. We then track the certified letter through the tracking number that's supplied with every certified letter that we send, and can establish either A, the date of delivery, or B, the date of attempted delivery. And what we know in both situations, whether it was actually delivered or only attempted delivered, that if it went together with the US mail, the regular letter we send, that regular letter was definitely delivered on that day, either the date of certified delivery or the date of attempted delivery. By being able to establish this for the court, we can always establish a day zero. It would be the same as a day zero if we put the notice in the hand of the tenant, if we put the notice in the hand of an occupant of the residence, 16 years of age or older, or the day we affix the notice to the inside of the main entry door. Our day zero is set upon the tracking of the certified letter, either the day was attempted delivered or the day was actually delivered. We then count 3 full days after that day, and then on day 4, we can file our eviction. Landlords, by understanding what the state of Texas or whatever your jurisdiction demands out of you when you deliver and you create your notice to vacate, you are likelier to assure yourself success in the eviction court. Don't hamstring your own case by failing to correctly draft a notice to vacate or failing to properly deliver that notice to vacate. These are the most common errors that landlords find whenever they are on the losing end of an eviction. If you need assistance with that, of course, seek out somebody like me, a landlord attorney, to help guide you further in the process. Additionally, you can check out any of the numerous videos on this channel already about how to deliver tip-top, excellent notice to vacate. If you have enjoyed what you've seen in today's video, I ask that you give us a like. We find that extremely helpful. Any comments or questions, leave those for me below. I respond to all of them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I hope you take what you've learned today and put yourself on a good track when it comes to filing your future evictions. But for any other content that you're interested in watching here, YouTube seems to think that this video right here is the next best thing for you. I welcome you to check that out, as well as the rest of our content on this channel. And until next time, landlords, happy leasing.